The warmth of the afternoon light filtered into the reception hall, casting a golden hue over the guests gathered for what was meant to be a day of celebration. The clinking of glasses sang in harmony with the lively chatter, and there, amidst the resounding applause, Harper Quinn felt a pang of disbelief as her mother's voice boomed over the room, praising Riley, her new stepdaughter, for orchestrating the entire event. Harper sat frozen in her chair, every beat of applause hitting her like a wave of betrayal. From just a few seats away, Riley, with her perfectly composed demeanor and charming smile, received the praise as if she were Cinderella transformed into a princess. Yet, beneath that smile, Harper sensed a quiet smugness that only deepened her heartache. Now 32 and a dedicated project manager in the bustling city of Brookfield, Harper had once shared a close bond with her mom, filled with shared secrets and late-night talks. But those days seemed to vanish the moment her mother began a relationship with Dylan, a man whose presence introduced Riley into their lives. Riley, with her effortless charm and striking beauty, had an uncanny knack for drawing everyone into her orbit, an orbit that was now displacing Harper in her own family. This wedding was the bridge Harper had hoped would mend the growing rift. She had poured months into planning the event, secretly bearing the financial load while her mother insisted that the details remain undisclosed, supposedly to preserve the enchantment of the occasion. It was to be her silent testament to her place within the family. Instead, she felt like a ghost, unrecognized and overshadowed. In the weeks leading up to this day, Harper had gone through the meticulous grind of wedding prep, enduring sleepless nights and endless decisions. Her mother's hands-off approach, while she claimed to avoid stress, seemed oddly detached. "You're so talented at these things, Harper. Just surprise me," her mother had said, her trust both flattering and perplexing. Yet, there was not a single inquiry about progress, no questions fueling the excitement she had expected. It wasn't until the pieces started falling into place that Harper realized Riley's deception. Riley had woven her own tale, painting herself as the mastermind behind the perfect wedding. Harper recalled an unsettling eavesdropping experience, a conversation between Riley and her mother that revealed the insidious orchestration. They had been in the living room, Riley's laughter echoing lightly as she accepted praise from Harper's mother. "You've been a savior with the wedding plans," her mother had said, a warmth and admiration seeping into her words. Riley's response was carefully crafted, laced with false modesty. "I just want everything to be perfect for you. You deserve it." At the time, Harper stood in the kitchen with a half-written guest list in her hands, each syllable of that exchange a piercing truth she wasn't yet ready to face. Overhearing how her mother valued Riley's supposed contributions, suggesting she was a more fitting planner than Harper, twisted her insides. It was a suggestion Harper had desperately wanted to ignore, rationalizing it as mere politeness or a misunderstanding. But now, seated among the echoes of laughter and clinking glasses, the reality was undeniable. Riley's duplicity, the carefully cultivated perceptions, and her mother's readiness to believe the tale made the truth all too clear. Those seeds Riley had sown had taken root, and Harper found herself engulfed by them, unseen and uncredited in the celebration she had envisioned as her path back into her mother's heart. Beneath the soft moonlight filtering through the glass windows of the hall, Harper Quinn sat amidst the jubilant celebration, attempting to suppress the turmoil within. She was 28, a logistics coordinator known for her meticulous nature in Brookfield, still coming to terms with the contrast between expectation and reality. This wedding, meant to bridge past to present, had instead widened the chasm between her and her mother. Preparations had consumed Harper's world. The hours in her cramped apartment turned into a war room of wedding planning, a battlefield littered with invoices, design mock-ups, and color-coordinated charts. It was an all-encompassing mission. The weeks leading up to the ceremony were relentless. Each night, shadows loomed under Harper's eyes as she toggled between her demanding job and the mountain of wedding tasks. Her workspace resembled an artist's studio teetering on chaos. The day the florist informed her the roses her mom adored were unavailable, Harper plunged into a frantic hunt for alternatives. Another time, a venue error threatened to derail everything when their reserved hall was mistakenly allocated to a corporate party. Resolute, she navigated through negotiations, ultimately securing a more extravagant spot at a steeper price. Her own evenings were sacrificed to tastings, ensuring the menu paid homage to her mother's tastes. Harper's hands were still raw from tying ribbons, each knot a personal vow of dedication, and the invitations she designed bore testament to endless nights of painstaking creativity. She had funneled her savings into this affair, cloaking each sacrifice in secrecy at her mom's request, a surprise meant to blossom into new beginnings. Yet now, seated silently as accolades flowed elsewhere, invisible threads threatened to unravel the fabric of her intentions. Silence blanketed the hall as the gentle tinkling of a fork against crystal summoned attention to the head table. Harper's mother, vibrant under the reception's glow, raised her glass with a beam that outshone the chandeliers. "Thank you all for gracing us with your presence," she began, her words tender and laden with heartfelt gratitude. "Without a doubt, today has been a dream manifested, a culmination of love and effort I never could have achieved alone." Hope flickered briefly in Harper's heart, igniting a momentary warmth until her mother's gaze bypassed her, landing on another. "To my dearest Riley," her mother continued, words soaked in adoration. "You've been my anchor through this journey, ensuring every element was flawless. This day stands because of you." The room swelled with applause directed toward Riley, who shyly acknowledged it with the grace of a hero in a tale spun by favorites and biases. Tears welled in Harper's eyes, the realization weighting her chest like lead. Not once did her mother's words pivot to Harper. No glance acknowledged the blood, sweat, and tears she had poured into orchestrating this event. As the applause crescendoed, Riley glanced Harper's way, a fleeting smirk betraying an awareness that stung sharper than spoken words. Harper's cheeks flushed under the ghostly attention. Indignation swirled within her, mingling with the ache of betrayal and rips of disappointment. Yet deep down, in some isolated corner of her heart, she understood confrontation now would shadow a day meant to be joyous. Instead, Harper mustered a semblance of composure, joining the clapping with hands as heavy as her dejection. Her internal struggle remained masked behind a steady facade, each polite gesture a decoy for the storm threatening to break. She resolved to save face, holding her disillusionment at bay until it wouldn't tarnish this radiant tapestry woven on the cheerful faces surrounding her. For now, she accompanied the celebration shadows, a silent presence disappearing quietly into the background, waiting for a rightful moment to reclaim her voice. The tension in the air was almost palpable as Harper stood on the doorstep of her mother's house, steeling herself for the confrontation she could no longer delay. It had been a mere week since the wedding, but the betrayal still festered, simmering beneath her composed exterior. The moment her mother returned from her honeymoon, Harper knew she had to address the issue that had been gnawing at her soul. When she entered the living room, she found her mother, Evelyn, unpacking with a contentment that sharply contrasted with Harper's turmoil. "Mom," Harper started, her voice breaking the gentle calm. "We need to talk." The sharpness in her tone was unexpected, even to her. Evelyn's smile wavered as she sensed the brewing storm. "What's going on, Harper?" Evelyn asked, the brightness in her eyes dimming, replaced by concern. Harper folded her arms across her chest, feeling the weight of her emotions tipping into a cascade of words. "What was that at the wedding? I did everything to make that day special for you, and you gave all the credit to Riley." She didn't lift a finger. Evelyn's expression hardened instantly, the warmth draining away. "Harper, enough with this jealousy," she replied, her voice a cold, dismissive echo. "Riley worked tirelessly to make that day perfect. She's the one who truly cares." Harper's heart sank, her mouth going dry. "Jealousy," she echoed, her stomach churning. Riley lied. "Every flower, every vendor, every pointless detail, I handled it all. You didn't even ask me." A hollow laugh escaped Evelyn as she shook her head. "Stop, Harper. I trusted you with the wedding plans, but clearly you didn't take it seriously enough." Riley stepped up. The disbelief surged within Harper like a tide, threatening to drown her. She fooled you, Mom. She didn't do a thing but stand there, soaking up all the applause for my work. With arms crossed and eyes as cold as winter frost, Evelyn's accusation hit Harper like an arrow. Face it, Harper, she succeeded where you failed. That's on you. Those words struck deeper than Harper imagined possible, tears pooling despite her efforts to maintain facade. You're wrong, she whispered, voice trembling. One day you'll see. But Evelyn turned away, her gesture dismissive, a final blow. I think it's best if you leave, Harper. Heart heavy, Harper left, the door's slam reverberating the shattering echo of her mother's choice. The loyalty Evelyn showed Riley stung beyond comprehension, a raw slash across the bond Harper thought unbreakable. The following day, determination burning hotter than the pain, Harper confronted Riley. Standing at Riley's door, Harper's fists clenched, each heartbeat echoing her resolve. Riley greeted her with a smile too sweet, leaning lazily against the doorframe as if unaware of the turmoil she had sown. Harper, what a delight. What brings you here? Harper kept her voice calm, yet firm. We need to talk, she declared, stepping into Riley's immaculate apartment, the sickly sweet perfume an assault on her senses. Certainly, Riley replied, waving her in with feigned hospitality. Cutting straight to the point, Harper stood firm in the center of Riley's pristine living space. Why did you let her believe you were responsible for the wedding? Why lie? Riley's smile didn't waver, but there was a crack in her facade, a flash of something irritation or guilt. Harper, what are you even saying? I never told her any such thing. She assumed, and I didn't see the harm. Harper's blood boiled, her anger finding voice. Not correcting her is a choice, Riley. You sat there and let her believe it, basking in the limelight while I disappeared. Riley's demeanor shifted, a smugness creeping over her features. Look, it's not my fault she sees me in that light. Maybe if you'd been more open about your contributions. Rage tightened like a vice in Harper's chest, but she held her ground, knowing this confrontation marked the beginning of a path she resolutely had to walk, alone if necessary, to reclaim her truth and her worth. Amidst the shimmering evening glow, Harper Quinn's heart thudded with a fierce determination. At 29, with a degree in communications from Riverside University, she had learned to navigate storms, both professional and personal. But this particular tempest, swirling with betrayal and deception, demanded not just navigation, but mastery. Her confrontation with Riley had left her brimming with a resolve she hadn't known she possessed. When Riley had shrugged off responsibility with a dismissive, careless air, Harper had realized just how deep the manipulation ran. If you care so much, take it up with her, Riley had stated offhandedly, the detachment in her voice more infuriating than any outright attack. Harper knew she had struck methodically, relishing the drama with every turn of events. You're not fooling anyone, Riley, Harper had retorted, each word laced with the cold certainty of her promise. The truth will surface and your little illusion will crumble. With those words hanging in the air, Harper had left, a door slamming sharply in her wake. But that door wasn't a closure, it was an opening to a pursuit of truth she could no longer defer. The deceit might have reduced her role to whispers in the shadow, but not anymore. She armed herself with evidence, receipts, emails, and text threads all detailing her tireless orchestration of her mother's wedding. These weren't just papers, they were love and labor, every piece a testament to her invisible contribution. As Riley's birthday loomed, Harper sat at home, knowing she wasn't on the guest list. From her brother, she had learned the gathering would be no modest affair, a full parade of admiration for Riley. The thought of Riley Reed in unearned praise while Harper was sidelined stoked the fire within her. She finally stood, gripping the folder like armor, and set out with purpose. She would not let apathy or fear dim her courage. As she approached Riley's bustling apartment, the party vibrated through the open door, a chorus of laughter and clinking glasses. Riley, you really knocked our socks off with that wedding, gleamed one guest, flutes of champagne adding sparkle to the praise. Your attention to detail, truly unmatched, chimed another, echoing admiration throughout the room. Even Harper's mother, blinded by the charade, applauded. You turned it into something magical, Riley. Exactly as I expected. Harper finally couldn't listen any longer and rapped on the door with a resounding determination. A hush swept over the room. Conversation stilled as curiosity took the place of merriment. Riley opened the door, her eyes widening with surprise at the unexpected guest. "Harper," she greeted, her voice thin, a thread of tension weaving its way into her confident aura. "Just here for a little honesty," Harper replied, stepping inside with a calm resilience that quieted the room's pulse to mere whispers. "Now's not," Riley began, but Harper waved off her protests, her voice rising above the murmur of confusion. "It's exactly the moment," Harper announced, eyes sweeping over familiar and unfamiliar faces alike. "This might be Riley's party, but the truth is a guest everyone needs to meet tonight." With deliberate precision, Harper opened the folder. She held up a contract linked to the catering selection, her name etched at the bottom like a silent shout of truth. "The menu everyone enjoyed? Chosen and arranged by me alone," she declared, letting the receipts flutter down with the weight of their reality. Then came the floral paraphernalia, meticulously planned and executed at her hands. From bouquets to centerpieces, all my doing. She shifted through emails, showing correspondence as Riley's facade began to crack under scrutiny. The room stilled to a shocked silence, the echo of Harper's reveal a way-up call reverberating through the gathering. Harper stood tall, her evidence laid bare, every single piece a sturdy step towards reclaiming her place and, more importantly, revealing the deception that had marred her mother's day. This was a battle for acknowledgement, a charge she bore with the fortitude that now defined her narrative. The air was thick with the tension of revelation. Amidst a room suddenly silenced by truth, Harper Quinn stood firm, her eyes meeting each guest's bewildered gaze with steady resolve. Her mother, Evelyn, sat stunned, words caught in her throat, unable to reconcile the new narrative unfolding before her. "Harper," Evelyn's voice finally wavered, struggling to comprehend. "What are you saying?" "Nothing but the truth," Harper replied, looking towards Riley with unyielding eyes. "Go on, Riley. Tell them how you let everyone believe the story you curated, how you stood there accepting accolades for the work you never did." Riley's mouth opened, an uncertainty rippling through the attendees. "It wasn't like that," she mumbled, her voice tethered by anxiety. "I didn't think it was a big deal." "Not a big deal?" Harper's voice escalated as she stepped closer. "You watched me sacrifice everything for this wedding, allowing false praises to become shackles around our family." From the corner, Connor, Riley's boyfriend, seemed to echo the disbelief in the room as he stepped forward. "Riley, is Harper right?" he asked, bewilderment crossing his features. Riley met his gaze, panic carving into her facade. She started, but Connor cut her off. "Don't beat around the bush. Just tell me the truth," he insisted, his voice earnest but firm. The room hung in a quiet suspension as Riley's defenses crumbled. "Fine," she finally admitted, bitterness lining her confession. "Yes, Harper did it all. But in the grand scheme, what does it even matter?" The collective intake of breath was palpable as disbelief melted into hushed gasps. Connor recoiled, his expression rigid with disillusionment. "It matters to me," he declared, the hurt evident in his retreat. "If you lie about something this significant, what else aren't you truthful about?" "I'm done, Riley." As he turned and left, the reality of her actions washed over Riley, leaving her speechless and colorless. Harper approached Evelyn, whose eyes were now pools of regret. "I tried to tell you," she said softly, pain evident yet controlled. "Everything I did was for you, and you refused to see it." "Terribly sorry." Evelyn, her voice breaking, could only stammer, "Harper, I should have known," asked. "It's too late now," Harper replied, not harshly, but with a poignancy that left little room for denial. "I needed you to know the truth, and now you do." With that, Harper gathered her belongings and walked into the night, the silence of the gathering reverberating behind her. For the first time in weeks, she felt the shackles of unrecognized effort dissolve into the freedom she so desperately needed. It wasn't long before a call rang through. The screen displayed Dylan Hayes' name, Riley's father. Slightly apprehensive but curious, Harper accepted the call. "Harper here, Dylan." The voice on the other end was laden with emotion. "Harper, it's Dylan, and I hope I'm not intruding." "No, not at all," Harper assured, trying to read the intent behind his uncharacteristic outreach. "What's up?" A pause, heavy with unspoken sentiments, lingered. "I need to apologize," Dylan began, sincerity threaded through each deliberate word, "for everything that happened, that Riley did." Harper's chest tightened with an unexpected empathy, her tone gentle. "You're not at fault here, Dylan. You don't need to apologize for her actions." "But I feel responsible," he interjected quickly, burdened by a self-imposed guilt. "I believed I raised her better." His words touched something deep within Harper, a vulnerability mirrored her own undelivered expectations. "She's facing the consequences now, and I hope it teaches her," he confessed, remorseful. "If there's anything I can do to make this right, please tell me." The sincerity was undeniable, and as Harper listened, the wall of her own defenses began to soften. "What means the most is talking to her. Help her understand why this was wrong," she advised gently. "You have my word," Dylan vowed solemnly. "Thank you, Harper, for your understanding and for setting this right." "I appreciate that," Harper replied, her voice steady and filled with gratitude. "Your apology means more than you know." In the subsequent weeks, the echo of Riley's birthday revelation lingered as Evelyn reached out to Harper, apologies flowing ceaselessly. They're heard, but the real healing was yet to begin, defining a new path forward. Sunlight streamed through the curtained windows of Harper Quinn's cozy apartment, casting soft patterns on the hardwood floor. Each ray illuminated the corners of her life she was finally starting to reclaim. After the storm of revelations and emotional upheaval, the dust had begun to settle, leaving Harper with a clarity she'd long been missing. For years, she had been chasing approval from those who failed to see her worth, but now she understood that her value could not be measured by their recognition. Her mother, Evelyn, reached out frequently, her voice layered with the weight of regret. Apologies flowed for the disbelief, for the dismissal of Harper's efforts, and while Harper accepted them, she was firm in acknowledging that rebuilding trust would take time. This new chapter between them felt different. Evelyn respected Harper's new boundaries, recognizing the importance of the space needed to foster a healthy relationship, one free from the burden of continual sacrifice. Meanwhile, Riley Vaughn, once the darling of their social circle, found herself in a different spotlight, a far less flattering one. The whispers of admiration had transformed into echoes of judgment, and friends who once fawned over her charms now saw her with clearer eyes. The breakup with Connor, her boyfriend, left her reeling, and the sense of isolation was palpable. Harper observed this shift with a complex mix of emotions, recognizing justice and transparency, but also understanding the sting of loneliness. In her own life, Harper embraced a newfound sense of liberation. She rediscovered pastimes she had cast aside, rekindled old friendships, and diligently carved out boundaries that shielded her peace. The liberation of no longer needing external validation was profound. It was as if she'd shrugged off a heavy cloak, finally feeling the freedom of being unburdened by others' expectations. As time passed, Harper and Evelyn slowly built a relationship that did not hinge on Harper proving her worth through grand gestures. Respect replaced the need for approval, creating a bond that felt both fragile and strong, a fresh foundation born from honesty and mutual understanding. Riley, however, receded from the spotlight of their community, her social standing forever altered by the truth. Though Harper felt a twinge of sympathy for Riley's fall from grace, it was tempered by the memory of betrayal. Sometimes, Harper mused, the truth was the great equalizer, righting wrongs in its wake. For the first time in a long time, Harper felt grounded, each step into the future lightened by the absence of pretenses and the promise of authenticity. The past was acknowledged but no longer dictated her story. She moved forward, anchored in her own strength, embracing the fresh possibilities of tomorrow.